The first half of the 20th century was an age of transformation and deep cultural crisis. Modernism, as an international literary movement, reflects the sense of crisis which was the consequence of new views on man and universe. Let's think about Freud's influence, who introduced new ideas about the human psyche, as well as Albert Einstein's theory of relativity. And yet, we can talk about the idea of time not only as an historical time but also as a psychological time introduced by William James. So, this period was marked by experimentation and by the awareness that knowledge is not absolute. Among the best known modernists were the Americans T.S. Eliot or William Butler Yeats. When war broke out, poetry responded in a variety of ways: patriotic and pacifist, traditional or experimental. Today we are talking about war poets. We call them war poets first because they wrote during the First World War. Secondly, because most of them volunteered as soldiers. Even if we refer to all of them as war poets or soldier poets, there are significant differences in the style and themes they used. They expressed a big variety of emotions. For example, some of them exalted and glorified war. An example of this kind of poets can be seen in Brooke's work. Some others, instead, felt the nonsense of the war. For example, Owen. He had a really bad and negative vision of the war and its horror. And that was mainly because Owen directly experienced war, its battles, and its attacks. Traditional poetry conventions didn't allow them to express the brutality of this kind of experience. And so they began to write in a more innovative, modern style. The themes are very similar to Ungaretti in their expression of the futility, the suffering, and hardship of war, and the sense of brotherhood among soldiers. The British poets, though, seem to be more forceful and brutal in their depiction of war, and the condensed, suggestive style of Ungaretti contrasts sharply with their direct, at times extremely graphic descriptions. Today we talk about Rupert Brooke. Rupert Brooke was already a well-established poet when the war broke out, and was also one of the leading figures of the Georgian poets. He was born in 1887 and died in 1915. The poem we present here was written in 1914 and became famous for its patriotic stance and the heroic idea of sacrifice for one's homeland. I'd like you to listen to its rhythm and pauses and sounds patterns.
Rupert Brooke, The Soldier, from 1914 and other poems.
If I should die, think only this of me, that there's some corner of a foreign field that is forever England. There shall be in that rich earth a richer dust concealed, a dust whom England bore, shaped, made aware, gave once her flowers to love, her ways to roam, a body of England's breathing English air, washed by the rivers, blessed by sons of home. and think, this heart, all evil shed away, a pulse in the eternal mind, no less, gives somewhere back the thoughts by England given. Her sights and sounds, dreams happy as her day, and laughter learnt of friends, and gentleness in hearts at peace under an English heaven.
Probably the sound was not that good, but I hope you could appreciate, nevertheless, the rhythm and pathos that this poem conveys. The Soldier, as we said, is a patriotic poem where the homeland, the mother country, is something worth dying for. The soldier here represented in this poem doesn't see the horror of the war. He sees himself as owing his own identity and happiness to England, because he was born in England, he was raised in England, and now he owes something to England. And so he's ready to sacrifice his life for his country. He can see himself as an embodiment of his nation. So if he dies in a foreign country, that part of that country where he dies is going to become a part of England. I invite you to look at words such as she, bore and shaped him and nourished him. Why? Because they underline how England is personified in this poem.